Hey, what's up? I'm Dustin. Welcome to the show. Today I'm going to show you how I made this DIY lightsaber, mostly out of junk, because you guys voted on it on my Instagram. This time it was between Han Solo's blaster and Luke's lightsaber, and I think you made the right choice. This is one of the most iconic movie props of all time, and I really did make this out of mostly old junk that I had just lying around. So I'm going to show you how I made it. Alright, so there are a ton of lightsabers to choose from, but I went with Luke's original lightsaber that was given to him by Obi-Wan that was originally made by Anakin. The original lightsaber itself is pretty famously based on an old-timey flash bulb handle from an old camera. I actually made one a while ago. This is Darth Vader's lightsaber because a friend of mine gave me this flash handle, so I just built everything up around it. But I'm going to show you how to do the very DIY version. So I found this awesome little piece of pipe that is the exact right size. I was originally going to just use an old piece of PVC pipe because I had tons of it, but it was either too thick or too thin. So this is called a sink tailpiece. It's in the plumbing section. I think it's for under a sink, and it was only $5 and it is the exact right size. Now everything else I pretty much had. This is all junk that I just scrounged around and found. I made a list and just sifted through all of my junk boxes. So I'm gonna start by cutting this down to the right size. I found this really awesome kind of blueprint along with a whole lot of history on lightsabers on wanawenga.com. So I printed this out to be real life size, which happens to be 28 centimeters. And so now I can just use this for reference. So now I'm just going to cut this down with the hacksaw. So now there's a very specific curve to the tip of this, so I'm going to just look at the reference pictures and draw that out by hand. So now to cut this out, I'm going to use my rotary tool and just go around this edge very carefully. Alright, so there's a bunch of details all over this thing, so I'm going to start with the tip. I have this leftover piece of 1-inch PVC pipe, and that seems like a good fit. In the tip of this, I had a cool idea. I have this old sprinkler head just left over from when I did the sprinklers. So I'm just gonna take this apart. Yeah, see, I like the look of that. That's already like really cool, just to fill this in so it's not hollow. All right, I think I'll just use a file and file this down until I can pop it right in the end. All right, cool, there we go. Yes, that's perfect. What I think I'll do to attach this in here, because there's a little bit of a gap, is just wrap this with some scraps of some craft foam. So I'll just cut a strip and wrap it around and then glue it into place. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna move on to these kind of clip things that go off the side here. And I know I have something that looks just right, so let me see if I can dig them out. All right, yeah, these are pretty close. So I'm gonna have to just bend these and cut them and then figure out how to attach them. Okay, there we go. I think that's gonna work. So I have the two sides. I really need to figure out a way to make these really sturdy. I don't wanna just glue them on, they're gonna pop off. So I found this little aluminum piece that was actually a knuckle on my DIY Terminator arm. I have one left over. So I think I'm gonna use part of this to kind of just secure this in here and attach it into the PVC itself. Alright, so that wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It's nice and sturdy, didn't turn out to be too hard. So now I'm going to move on to the two buttons on either side. So I dug through my junk box and I found two pieces that are totally going to work. So first is this quick release from my bike seat. And so when I unscrew this end piece here, I kind of have like the perfect little thing. And then I also had this. It's just like a bypass for a light for a pull chain. And I noticed that it has this great little grip on here. When I unscrew that, boom, perfect. So these don't match each other, of course, but I love that they came off something that I already had and they just look really cool. So I think they're gonna work really well. So first, all I gotta do is screw these into the plastic so they're nice and sturdy. All right, nice and solid. So some of you have already been asking from my Instagram stories what I was gonna do with the googly eyes. Two of these googly eyes are gonna be the tips of the buttons themselves. This 42 pack was only 99 cents. I'm gonna pick out two and I'll paint them with red spray paint. Alright, so I'm not going to glue these on yet until I paint this whole thing silver. So I'll move on to the base, which there's some good reference photos for. It has a classic D-ring, which I had a hard time finding at the hardware store, so I panicked and just bought this pack on Amazon. It's 120 pieces, all different sizes. This was $10, so when I find the perfect size, I'll use that. But first, I'm just going to make the base itself using some old plastic. I'll just trace the shape out and then cut it out. Alright, so I'll just build a mount for this D-ring directly on here before I attach it. So for that, I'll just use a piece of medium craft foam. Using some scraps that I have, I'll just cut a little piece out of this and kind of put it all together. This looks pretty awesome. Alright, so before I put this in the end there, I'm just going to hit this with a tiny bit of silver spray paint. So now I'm gonna move on to this middle piece, which is like a strap with like a kind of bulky thing. Now here is where we specifically know that we are dealing with the lightsaber from The Empire Strikes Back, because it has a different look. They changed it. Our design's gonna have kind of more of a circuit board look, but the original lightsaber in A New Hope had this kind of bubble strip from an old-timey calculator. I actually happen to have one. I've had this for like 20 years. I haven't used it yet. But in this version, because it's the design I wanted to go with, it's the version we kind of know the most with Luke for the rest of the series. In fact, if we were to remove this button, then that's really the version that carries through to Rey and Finn and then back to Luke all the way through the rest of the series. But I'm gonna focus on this iconic version from my childhood and start with this strap in the middle. So for that, I'm really just gonna use a piece of tape. This is a really thick tape, this is Gorilla Tape. So I'll just measure the right spot and then wrap this around in 2 layers. Some images show a smaller strap in the middle too. All right, those are the straps. So now for the rest of this, I've got 2 amazing pieces straight from my junk box. I've got this little circuit like ribbon thing, so I'll cut that and draw on it. And I've got this awesome little piece of plastic. I think this is from like a big toner cartridge maybe when it was new. And there's just this perfect section right in the middle. So I'm just gonna cut this to the right shape using my hacksaw. All right, cool, that's the perfect little piece. So I'm just gonna cut this ribbon. I'm gonna draw on some of these details with the small permanent marker and fit it into this slot. All right, I am gonna glue this on now, but later when I'm painting this, I'm gonna leave just a strip in the center masked off, so this detail will be exposed. And then there's just one last little detail to add to this. There's like a clip on the side, so I'm just gonna use one of these little frame hanger things, because I have a bunch of them, just bend it a little bit, and then glue it on the side. So, I almost forgot, there are 2 holes on either side of this thing that I should have done way back before I put this middle insert in. It would have been so easy to just drill through these. So now I gotta be extra careful. So I'm gonna look at the reference pictures, draw out where these are, and then I'm gonna use my rotary tool and carefully drill into both sides. All right, that turned out pretty good. I thought I was gonna wreck this whole thing. But now I think this is ready for some spray paint. So I'm gonna start by masking off the center of the circuit board. Then I'll give the whole thing a coat of gray primer, and then I'll use metallic silver. All right, this thing just totally came to life. Let's take a look at that little circuit board. All right, time to put on the googly eyes, buttons. All right, now to fill these 2 sockets, I'm just gonna use this thick wire. What I'll do is just cut some pieces out and drill little holes and just stick these right in there. I'm gonna move on to the grips. Now looking at the pictures, I know I need 6 of them all the way around. Now I already measured the circumference and it's 12 centimeters around. So I mapped this out on a piece of paper so that each of these grips will be 1.5 centimeters wide and the space in between will be 0.5 centimeter. So now using my little guide, I'm gonna cut these out on a piece of thin craft foam. I already had this laying around, but knew they're 89 cents. So I'll just cut a bunch of strips 1.5 centimeters wide and about 10 centimeters long. All right, so these top strips, which are gonna go perpendicular right across the top, are also 0.5 centimeter. So I'll just lay down a bit of super glue right across the top of these and pop those on there. These top strips do have a little space where there's gonna be a screw later, so I made sure to include that gap. All right, now that these are all glued on, I'm gonna seal them in even more by giving them a quick coat of PVA glue. This is like a really thick craft glue. So I'll just brush this on each of them with a paintbrush. All right, these are dry, so now they're ready for some black spray paint. Oh, look, I've got Ewoks attacking me. Okay, Ewoks on the ground. The grips are dry, so I'm gonna attach those. When I was painting this, I made sure to mask off all the areas where the grips are gonna go, so these should connect really well to the PVC. So I'm gonna pull off the masks and then glue these all on. All right, the very last thing I have to do is add 6 little bolts on each of these grips, and I have just the right ones. So I'm gonna drill the holes and stick them right in. And then one last bolt to finish this off. All right, I think I did it. This is my finished lightsaber made mostly out of junk parts. Let's see if it works. Whoa, it does. It works. Thanks for watching. Be sure and subscribe for more DIY content and head on over to my Instagram @DustFilms so you can vote on the next prop I'll be making, and let me know in the comments if you have any other questions about this build. May the Force be with you.